Well, there's obviously an importance of thinking about financial literacy as a life skill, something that we need to have to build on our culture. Michael Roberts is a finance professor here at the Wharton School and joins us to talk about that side of the story. Hi, Michael. Great to talk to you again.
Good to be here, Dan.
And I don't think it can be overstated in any way, shape, or form how important financial literacy can be in the scope of what we're talking about with life skills.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Many of societal ills are directly or indirectly linked to financial literacy.
What is it that has gone wrong to a degree, maybe? Because it feels like maybe we've dropped the ball a little bit in terms of developing those skills, especially on our kids as they're growing up.
It's a great question and one without a simple answer. I think there's many factors that weigh in to the financial challenges and struggles people face, beginning very early, just getting kids acclimatized or used to engaging with finance and financial decisions, getting them comfortable, speaking to someone who understands finance, going to a bank, these sorts of things. Then in high school, middle school, high school, the education I believe is lacking despite a lot of efforts and a lot of good faith efforts. And there's this inertia, Dan, that moves with people throughout their lives that if they don't get started on the right foot, it can be very difficult to recover. So the process needs to start early and it needs to be done correctly.
Is it fair or unfair to say that some of this lies in the laps of parents as well?
Yeah, I think there's blame to spread all the way around. And I speak as a parent myself. I'm very conscious, perhaps because of my position, of my own children's comfort and knowledge of finance, even though they're relatively young. So my goal has been to get them comfortable, not just talking about it, but engaging with it, right? Understanding what it means to have, if not a checking account, a credit card with a limit, or how to go into a bank, how to check your balance, how to budget. Really sort of ingraining these things, simple things early, so it becomes part of who they are in some sense. It becomes automatic later in life.
Let me throw one in from my own personal experience. My oldest daughter has her first job this year. She's working at a restaurant here in the Philadelphia area part-time. And so it was the first time she's gotten a W-2. And, that experience, and I helped her do the taxes this year. But my goal is next year for her to be the one who will sit down and go through the tax form in terms of filing it. And, that's obviously a step up the ladder, but it's one of the pieces that I think we need to do and consider more as we move along here.
I couldn't agree more, Dan. And look, if you were to ask me, what are the two biggest barriers to getting comfortable with finance? One is just the language. It's just almost impenetrable. All the acronyms, it can be very daunting. And number two is familiarity or comfort. It's really scary, or can be, doing something for the first time. And that applies to me as well. So getting kids doing stuff, right? Setting up a budget, doing their taxes, going to the bank early and frequently, even on a small scale, is incredibly powerful for them for the rest of their lives, because they no longer fear it, right?
When did this first come onto your radar as being an important component? And was some of this even your experience growing up as a teenager and having that first job and that first bank account?
Yeah, I mean, this started resonating with me as a child when, my grandmother gave me, I think they were Series Triple E savings bonds.
Yes.
And maybe some of your listeners will remember what those are, but I saw these bonds in $50 increments, and I thought I was just set for life.
Yeah.
Right. So my attempt to cash those in at the bank the next day failed miserably for a variety of reasons. But ever since then, my life growing up, frankly, was littered with a lot of financial mistakes and challenges because I didn't understand things and I was partly afraid to engage with them. And it's really only been through my teaching and my research that I realized, well, wait a second, this isn't difficult. It's not scary. if we can deliver it properly to people, right, high school students or younger, boy, we can have a massive impact. And the emphasis is on deliver it properly.
And I think it's interesting because, when you think about grade school education, there are components of financial literacy that are included in there, being able to, count coins and the value of coins and stuff. But it seems like maybe it stops somewhere along the line, fifth grade, sixth grade, somewhere in that realm. And some school districts have it and some states mandate it, but it's not, across the United States, which I guess is a little surprising to me.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of really good intentioned people out there. But the sort of heterogeneity or diversity in topics or subject matter and delivery leads to an inadequate life skill when it comes to finance. So sometimes finance is buried in a math class or a home economics class. Sometimes they only talk about taxes. They don't talk about savings or investments. And so there really needs to be a broader, more unified approach and consistent delivery throughout children's formative years to set them on that right path as young adults and beyond.
How do you think we approach it now? Because it's showing to be more and more important. And obviously something like this, the student loan debt crisis has really amplified this over the last decade or so. But how do we better do that? Because part of that is also going to be having enough educators in place to be able to deliver this component of education moving forward.
Yeah, so now you're striking at a chord that's very close to my heart, and what I've been working on lately is I think we need to train the teachers, so to speak. A lot of teachers, whether it's a math teacher or a home economics teacher or whomever's teaching this finance at their school, relatively few have actually been trained in finance. And that's not their fault. It's just sort of fallen on their lap based on what they tell me. Hey, I have to teach this. It's part of some requirement, state requirement. So what I think needs to happen is that finance educators need to teach these non-finance educators to be finance educators, to deliver it to their students in a way that's going to resonate and stick. And the beauty of this, Dan, is by training the teachers, there's huge benefits for the teachers themselves because many of them struggle with these challenges as well. Yeah. So it's really a win-win. You help the teacher, you help the student, and by extension, you help the family and community.
And then, not that we are enjoying the financial issues that we're in right now, but all that has kind of gone on, with inflation and the impact because of the pandemic, these are kind of case studies of the impact of finance and what it goes through, and really at a base level in many cases.
It is. And Dan, a lot of people out there, including myself, to some extent are thinking, okay, it's getting really expensive to live. What do I do? Right. I mean, when I talk about teaching finance, it's not telling you what a stock is or what a bond is. It's helping you make decisions about where you should save your money, what the risks are, what is inflation, how can I deal with inflation now in my life? How do I alter my budget, my savings? This is the way finance needs to be taught, how to make better decisions.
Do you feel like there's a path that we can develop here, and I would think it's probably going to be over the next several years, but to be able to get to that point, and it's going to be a I think, faceted approach here, because you're talking about the education piece, you're talking about the public, you're probably talking about legislators being involved in this as well. So there's a lot of hands that could be involved, in this process.
There are, but I think the beauty is that a lot of the material and delivery work has already been done. It's what we do at Wharton, right? When me and my colleagues teach finance, we teach people how to make these decisions for themselves. And so, as you pointed out, Dan, the real challenge is just getting it out there, working with educational systems, superintendents, educators, and eventually legislators to get this type of material and delivery system into the hands of teachers and kids. That's the real challenge at this point. And we're already starting, we already have some inroads. We're already starting to work with some school districts. So slowly but surely.
How are you seeing that then on the ground level with the work that you're doing with some of the schools in the Philadelphia area?
So I haven't personally engaged with schools in the Philadelphia area. I'm working with some other districts, and I got to tell you, there's a real appetite and a hunger because everybody, from the administrators to the teachers to the students, understand how important this knowledge is. They all want it, and so we're here to give it to them. We just need to work within the system, as you pointed out.
Can you then can you guesstimate the downstream benefit of having that education piece in terms of impact on life, impact on education, potential earnings benefits? Are there is there a path that you can see there?
Yeah. So instead of boring you with lots of statistics, let me give you an anecdote, a personal anecdote that's illustrative. Um, I racked up a whole bunch of credit card debt in college. And so after I graduated during my first job, what I realized is that the only way I was going to pay down that debt is I had to liquidate my 401k at the time and just get rid of it.
Yeah.
So what I did last year, and I probably shouldn't have done it, is I computed, hey, had I not made that mistake, had I just left my 401k, not added any money to it, just left it alone for the last 25 years, hey, how much money would I have today? I actually lost out on over $250,000 from that just small start.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a lot of money. And now, granted, it's anecdotal, but you can see that small mistakes early on have big implications later in life. And that's what we want to avoid.
Michael, always great to talk with you. Thanks for a few moments today.
Thanks, Dan. Take care.
You got it. Michael Roberts, who is a finance professor here at the Wharton School.